What's good, peeps? Thanks always for passing by the channel. Much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. All right, so KSI versus Logan Paul is done. It's in the books, so to speak. The frenzy can stop. It was a manic build-up, right? Manic. It was all over social media. Even if you tried to avoid it, you couldn't, right? So I guess to all intents and purposes, they done a good job, right? They done a good job in promoting the fight and pushing it. Everyone, looking at some of the YouTubers that covered the event, so the boxing socials, the fight hypes, the seconds out, IFL TV, their numbers were astronomical. I'm just going through some of their numbers now. They were interviewing people that were clearly famous, people that I didn't know or don't know, and 1 million views, 1.5 million views, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views. And I was sitting here thinking, what can boxing learn from this kind of, if you like, social experiment, right? That's kind of what it is, a social experiment. What can boxing learn? It can't just be a case, and I know the hardcore fans want it to be a case, but it can't just be a case of, okay, that's done, move on. It can't. I think boxing needs to take some pointers from this and run with them. Boxing isn't, it's weird. I think maybe boxing people are stuck in this boxing world where we think boxing is this big sport. It really isn't. It really isn't. I mean, the top 1%, like in life, I guess, are getting paid ridiculous amounts of money. And some people can't fight unless they sell tickets. And those are professionals. So there is a big disparity in boxing. So for those hardcore boxing fans that are saying things like, oh, this has damaged the sport and it's a disgrace. The only thing, and I will say this to kind of defend myself a little bit, the only thing I didn't like about this, and I haven't covered it, you guys know I've not really covered it, it's not really my thing, but the only thing I hated about this was that Billy Joe Saunders and Devin Haney, because he got upgraded to the proper belt, so to speak, WBC, were two world champions below these two YouTubers. I said this in the build up to my fight. If these YouTubers wanted a slot on the undercard and Billy Joe Saunders and Devin Haney headline, I don't necessarily have a big problem with it. That was my only gripe. There were other little gripes, but that was the main gripe. But the fact is, these two YouTubers have come into our world, if you like, the boxing world, I hate using that term, and have generated more interest in their fight than, it's up there with McGregor Mayweather. And that was 3 or 4 years ago now. So it's been that long. We haven't had this much interest, this much eyes on the sport. And two guys with social media followings have been able to generate that much interest. And we need to look at it and think, okay, what can we learn from it? We really do, for this sport to grow. Again, I mean, people might think because we're putting on this show and that show and we get a fight of the years here and there that the sport is growing. It's not growing. It's not growing at all, people. Trust me, I kind of follow the landscape of boxing. The sport isn't growing like you think it's growing. It really isn't. So what can we learn? What we can learn, and I think this is for boxers more than us fans. I've seen a lot of boxers come out and say things like, this is a disgrace to our sport. I've worked so hard for my sport. I've done this and I've done that. You boxers, if you can please, all the anger you've got for KSI and Logan Paul, take it, bubble it up, put it in a fucking bag and go and throw it at the drug cheats in boxing. Go and throw it at the sanctioning bodies in boxing and all the other people that ruin the sport. Way more than this KSI and Logan Paul have done. Trust me, don't get me wrong. Look, I'm not saying that they've not done or said some stupid things in the lead up to it, but nothing worse than what boxers have said. I think a lot of people gave KSI a ticking off for saying he's going to kill Logan Paul. I mean, I could pull up the tape on hundreds of boxers, thousands that have said those words. But yeah, that anger that you have from them, have it for things like the Diamond Belt and the franchise belt and Canelo getting a 6-month ban and Jarrell Miller getting a 6-month ban for EPO and HGH and Endurodol and this cheat and that cheat. Have it for them, not for KSI and Logan Paul. What we do need to do in boxing is gain new fans. I don't know if this event has gained new fans. I think it might have gained fans for a while. And as soon as KSI and Logan Paul decide to hang up the gloves, which they will, those fans will go. I think the experiment or the idea of Billy Joe Saunders and Devin Haney fighting and gaining some of those fans, I don't think has worked, right? I just don't think those fights were enjoyable for those type of fans, especially for fans that are not necessarily interested in the sport. You almost want to see two guys just stand there and trade, almost like an Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward. Billy Joe Saunders is a boxer, hence why the fight was booed, I think, 9th and 10th round. And Devin Haney's fight was booed a little bit as well, so that didn't work. So again, what can we take from it? And I'm asking the question. I don't know the answer to this, but I just don't think that we should almost shut the door on it or shut the lid and say, okay, that's done now. Let's get on with the real stuff. We can't. Boxing isn't a tier 1 sport. It really isn't. But yesterday, it had tier 1 eyes on it. I mean, in terms of just the amount of eyes on it, it was like, it honestly, and again, just following it on social media, it felt like a big football final. Or, I'm not American, it definitely didn't feel like an NFL game, but it felt like something big. And again, boxing doesn't normally have that. Boxing needs that. It needs that. Boxing clearly lacks stars. We've been trying to build up stars and it's just not worked. And yesterday, it was strange because normally, sorry, I'm going on a bit because I don't really know where I'm going with this video. But normally in boxing, or back in the day anyway when I was young, in sort of the 80s and 90s, a big fight used to kind of be with Hollywood celebrities kind of around the ring. Yesterday, it was almost like YouTube celebrities who are the new celebrities of this social media world around the ring. And we need to somehow, I don't know, get these guys invested in boxing. I don't know if yesterday's fight done it, I'm not sure, but I don't think we can slam the door on these people and say almost get out of our sport. Like this is like we own the rights to it. I don't think we can do that. And this isn't me backtracking on my words. This is me kind of just looking at the landscape of boxing and how much interest this 6-rounder garnered yesterday. It was just incredible. Incredible. And I feel like we need to look at how we can use some of that interest to grow the sport. Some of those eyes on the sport to grow the sport. Again, the idea with Billy Joe Saunders and Devin Haney was to do that, but it didn't work. But we can't stop there. We really can't. This sport needs to grow. I love boxing. I love boxing more than any other sport. But I can clearly see how it's not what it used to be. I think it's improving, but it's still not what it used to be in terms of creating stars. It really isn't. But I do love the sport and I want to see it grow. And if somehow we can, I don't know, again, learn from yesterday to make it grow, then I'm all ears. But I'm not quite sure what yesterday did. I'm not. Another thing, I didn't watch the fight. I woke up to see the scorecards and I was like, is it a 6-rounder? I was shocked that it was only a 6-rounder. It seemed like people were screaming for a couple more rounds. I guess it was 2 guys on their professional debut, so it makes sense as to why it was a 6-rounder. What do you guys think? What can we learn from yesterday's event? Not fight. I think this is what people are getting confused. I'm talking about the whole event. What can we learn from it? Again, millions of people were tuned into this thing. I mean, I tweeted something yesterday where a guy was illegally streaming it through his glasses. So what I mean is that people, oh, that's unbelievable. This guy was watching it like this, like I'm watching this, and he had his glasses on, so he was watching it, and the reflection, people were watching the fight through his glass reflection, and that got over 10,000 legal streams. We can't let this just be a flash in the pan. And I don't mean more YouTube fights. I mean, we can't just let this interest just evaporate away from boxing. Boxing is full of old people who are dinosaurs and are stuck in their old ways. The Frank Warrens and the Bob Arums, don't sue me. I think it would be good to actually get some ideas from some of these young people who have incredible followings as to how we can grow the sport. I just want to see it grow. I don't know what you guys think. I know some hardcore people are going to down this video. I get it. I understand. I'm a bit like that as well. But again, the amount of interest I saw yesterday, I haven't seen. And again, Mayweather McGregor was a UFC guy crossing over. So I've not seen that kind of interest since Pacquiao Mayweather in terms of boxer versus boxer. How many years ago was that? I want to see big fights. I want to get excited for big fights. And we haven't seen them in boxing for a long time. I'm talking monster fights, by the way. If people are going to tell me Spence, I'm not talking Spence Porter or Canelo Kovalev. I'm talking monster fights. Haven't seen one for a while. Anyway, what do you guys think? Let me know.